So welcome everyone to the June Ask the Experts. We're so excited you're here, both in person and online. We just really appreciate your attendance at this event. And again, we have another fantastic month. I feel like every month is just the best. And then the next month comes and it's the best. So I'm really excited for today's topic, and I think it's really pertinent to where a lot of people are. So my name is Lisa Arneson. I'm the Workforce and Education Coordinator here at the Tri-City Regional Chamber. And again, thank you so much for being here. In person, we're gonna go around the room. You give your name and company, and online and Zoom, if you could please do the same as well. Just give us your name and company. We love to know who's joining us. And I will start on that side of the room and work this way.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I work with ABC Dino.
Oh, awesome. That's very cool.
Hi, my name is Tony. I'm with the West Richland Chamber of Commerce.
I'm Lacey Menzies. I work with the Ben Franklin Council of Governments.
Okay, I'm Michelle Holt. I work with the Ben Franklin Council of Governments. I'm Laura Flores. I'm with Ignite Consulting.
Great. I'm Audie Colmanero, and I'm with Persona Improvement Solutions. Ray Lancaster with the Ben Franklin Fair and Rodeo.
Jose Sandoval, WorkSource Comey Basin.
Cody Borgia, HFG Schools.
Drew Sutherland, Washington Trust Bank.
Rick Bullen, Community First Bank, soon to be.
You were about to say half of
You
it.
know.
I know.
So close, you know, let's say it.
Just a little while,
So-
you can say that.
Shad Gillis, Community First Bank, HFG Trust.
Family stuff, I'm at Care, home.
Okay, I'll go to that.
There.
Okay.
Ryan Elo with Repro Restoration.
Okay, if you didn't drop your business card in, or if you don't have a business card, we have blank ones you can put your name on. We have 4 fabulous drawings for those people in the audience today, so you're gonna wanna stay till the end and you're gonna want one of those prizes. Next, I'm just gonna invite up, Jessica from STCU, who sponsored our event.
Well, hello, everybody. Hi, nice to meet everybody. I'm not gonna. Thank you. I'm glad we got to go around and learn some names. I appreciate that. I'm Jessica Critter with STCU, and I'm a community impact and advocacy specialist. And we're proud to sponsor Ask the Experts. And like Lisa, I'm very excited to hear about this topic as well. We're probably all here because we experience stress, and we want to learn how to handle that stress and be more resilient and bounce back from stress. So I know I'm looking forward to hearing from each of you experts today, and I know the rest of you are as well. So again, thank you for coming out.
Thank you. We just really appreciate their sponsorship towards this. They've been doing this with us for years and have been a great partner. So thank you so much. So I am excited to introduce our topic, which is mental well-being and building a resilient workforce. Again, we've got fantastic speakers, and just a reminder, there will be questions and answers at the end. So both in person and on Zoom, while they're speaking, if something comes up, write it down, and then you'll be ready to go with those questions for our experts. So this month's experts are, no particular order, Laurell Kaiser, MPHCHES. She's a health promotion supervisor from the Association of Washington Cities. Laurell has 20 years of experience in the development and delivery of wellness programs that educate, engage, and activate health. Laurell holds a Master of Public Health in Community Health Education from Vassar University and a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science from Oregon State University, and is a certified health education specialist. She is well-versed in health promotion design, wellness program management, and stakeholder engagement. In her current role as health promotion supervisor for the Association of Washington Cities Employee Benefit Trusts, she assists cities, towns, and other public entities to establish healthy workplace cultures and advises on workplace wellness. Laurell has served as the program and event chair for the Wellbeing Think Tank, a nonprofit that educates and empowers employers to foster organizational well-being through training and collaboration. Finally, she teaches workplace wellness management at Bellevue College, training the next generation of workplace wellness professionals. And she traveled all the way from Olympia to be with us today. So I was really Next, down on the end of the table, we have Kathleen Lawrence, who fondly goes by Kat. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist, LMFT. Her practice is located at the Pacific Clinic in Kennewick, Washington. She works with individuals, couples, and families on a wide variety of life issues. She's also a business consultant who works with senior leadership and management teams throughout the United States to promote moral and ethical leadership from high core values. She's also a public speaker on the topics of leadership, psychology, behavioral health, core values, personality, and personal strengths. Prior to becoming a therapist, her former careers were in law and entrepreneurship. She is a member of Rotary and an emeritus board member of the Three Rivers Community Foundation and loves to volunteer. She has lived in the Tri-Cities for 15 years. She enjoys working out, which is good that you work at a clinic. Hiking, biking, golf, road trips, travel, and then skydiving and flying airplanes.
Wow.
Who is this amazing? Last, we have Lena Garza, who is a wellness educator and a certified health coach. And I think she knows half the people over, maybe over half the people in this room. Using her specialized coaching techniques, she teaches busy professionals the skills they need to overcome stress, change their mindset, and reduce fatigue, and helps them improve boundaries, overall health, and their outlook on life. Through her effective coaching, these skills equip individuals with the ability to practice work-life balance, enhance workplace productivity, and reduce absenteeism. She guides people on how to gain awareness and take action to remove obstacles that may be holding them back, thus allowing each to reach their ultimate or optimal goals. She worked closely with business owners to bring leadership education to their teams to improve the office culture. She has a private practice, Nourished by Design LLC, where she coaches clients one-on-one, facilitates corporate and community wellness workshops, and she teaches leadership. So that's our third speaker for the day. And with that, I'm gonna Laurell.
Great, thanks, Lisa. Thank you everyone for being here. So we're gonna start out with a little fun chat with your neighbor. Share why you're here today. What is kind of on your mind about mental health in the workplace? What's coming up for you? So take a moment, and if you're online, put it in the chat, and then I'll ask for a few people to share.
Yeah, but I also
Yeah. That's where I was like, but there's no reason not to do it.
So,
Wrap up your group. Great. Did anybody want to share anything? Why they're here, why they're interested in mental health in the workplace? Thank you.
We got a great one on Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Katie said to foster a healthy work environment for our employees.
Great.
I was gonna share Cody's and his is very similar, so. He talked the whole time, so.
You let him talk. Anyone else? Great. All right, well. Mental health affects organizations in a bunch of different ways. I was recently listening to a webinar with one of the medical directors at Kaiser Permanente, and he said 1 in 5 people have a mental health condition and only half of them get treatment. And I think that's really profound, and we can imagine what happens to those people who are not receiving treatment and symptoms are exacerbated by workplace stress and the things that are happening in their lives. So poor mental health can negatively affect an employee's job performance and productivity, engagement in their work. They can be really disconnected. The ability to communicate effectively with coworkers is really sacrificed when we're struggling. And then just generally our physical capability and daily functioning. You know, mental health and physical health is deeply connected, and when we are suffering with mental health conditions or symptoms, our physical health suffers as well. So some great statistics here out of the research from the Surgeon General's mental health framework. 76% of workers reported at least one symptom of mental health. 84% said their workplace conditions had contributed to at least one mental health challenge. So I think that's really important for all of you as employers to think about how the things we do are impacting people's mental health in the workplace. And then lastly, I think really important when we're thinking about retention and productivity, people want to work places where they feel supported. 81% said they're looking for employers who support mental health. So when I was chatting with my cohorts over here, we all are taking presentations that are much longer than 15 minutes and putting them into 15 minutes. So there's a lot of ways you could frame mental health in the workplace. But I really love the Surgeon General's framework for workplace mental health and well-being because it's really holistic and simple. And I'm gonna do my best to touch on some examples, but of course we don't have all the time in the world today. So we may invite you to share some examples that are in your workplace. And this is still available on the HHS.gov website. I checked yesterday. So the first element of the framework is protection from harm, and specifically prioritizing workplace physical and psychological safety. And of course, when workplace conditions are physically unsafe, you know, our mental health suffers, we're not able to be effective in our work. And that's pretty like obvious, like we can see that with our eyes. Psychological safety in the workplace is more something we feel. And so we want to make sure that we're creating conditions and cultures in our workplace where people can show up as their full authentic selves and are safe in the workplace. We can manage it through the policies and environment of our workplaces. I think about, you know, my own experience being in toxic workplaces and maybe unsafe workplaces. You know, my work suffered. I was probably not performing at, you know, my best self. And that's most likely what's happening to your employees as well. Enable adequate rest. This is specifically applies to our shift workers. So you can dive in to the research on the recommendations of like, how do we shift people from a night shift to a day shift to a graveyard? Because that can really take a toll on a person's physical and mental health. Normalize and support mental health. Operationalize DEIB norms, policies, and programs. One of the ways that we're doing this at AWC is we have a committee that looks at how are we doing internally in this work. We also, in the hiring process, we redact names and addresses before resumes go to review panels to just try to eliminate some of that unconscious bias that might come up when we are looking for new candidates. So that's one thing that we're doing. Another thing that we're doing is providing written interview questions to our candidates. You know, not everyone is a really strong auditory processor. And also, if you're in an interview, you're probably stressed and nervous. So how can we help that person show up as their best selves and demonstrate that they can do the work. Next, we have connection and community. So creating cultures of inclusion and belonging. An example just came up this week in my workplace. We have a big event next week here in the Tri-Cities, actually. And we have the staffing spreadsheet of everyone's responsibilities. And I noticed that my employee's name was spelled wrong in the entire document. And as somebody who has a name that always gets spelled wrong and pronounced wrong, nothing makes me feel like I don't matter, like a workplace that doesn't bother to learn how to accurately pronounce my name. So I wanted to make sure, luckily my employee was on vacation, so we didn't see it before to see that it was spelled wrong. And so I took that extra step to say, like, can you make sure her name is spelled right? Which seems like so little and small, but it really shows that that person matters, and getting names correct is really important. Cultivate trusted relationships, foster collaboration and teamwork. I think specifically, I'm a supervisor, and for leaders, we really need to model what it means to take care of ourselves, be vulnerable when it comes to mental health. I have strong relationships and good collaboration with my team. This year, we were on our way to an event, and I said, hey, I just want to let you guys know that, my best friend passed away last week, and I'm probably not going to be showing up as my best self during this event, and I'm going to do my best. And I just want to let you know, like, I'm going through some stuff, and I'm doing my best. So I would really appreciate some grace in this moment. And they were very appreciative to have that insight, and they gave me a lot of support and empathy. So this statistic is actually from 2010. It says employees with a best friend at work are 7 times more likely to be engaged and are thriving in their careers as compared to maybe their less socially connected coworkers in the workplace. And I looked at the research because I was like, 2010, that was forever ago. What are we finding now? And they did some follow-up after the pandemic and asked the same question. And what they found was even more important than when we asked it in 2010. And so I think that really gets back to the point of connection and community. I mean, imagine if you didn't have people you really enjoyed being around at work, how much different that work experience would be for you. I know when I had a job and my work best friend left, I was like, what am I gonna do? I don't want to come to work anymore. So it's just nice to feel connected and enjoy showing up to work and working with your coworkers. Number 3 is work-life harmony, and you'll notice that it says harmony and not balance. Can we really have work-life balance? I mean, how much time do we spend at work? And how much time do we spend at home? It's not balanced. I also like to switch it, maybe like life-work harmony. So it's really about providing people autonomy to choose how to get work done. So step away from the micromanaging. Where we can, make schedules as flexible and predictable as possible. Some people really thrive on routine. They need to know what to expect. They need to understand what's coming. And that is good not only for our neurodiverse employees, but it's really good for everyone. Increase access to paid leave may be realistic depending on your organization or not. But it will allow people to take care of themselves and not worry about putting gas in their car. Respect boundaries between work and non-work time. This has gotten real blurry in the world of like work cell phones and hybrid work. And the former director of the healthcare authority, she had this great line in her signature that said, my work hours might not align with your work hours. Please respond during your work hours. Don't feel like you need to respond. Essentially, like just because she's sending emails at 8 p.m. doesn't mean you need to send emails at 8 p.m. Number 4 is mattering at work. So you'll notice that I haven't talked about wellness programs at all, even though that's my bread and butter. That's my job. That's what I help my members with. We have to address these foundational things before we can even get to yoga, meditation. I love those things. But if we don't take care of people's basic needs, we cannot expect them to take care of themselves in that way. So providing a living wage, engaging workers in workplace decisions. So are you changing a policy? Are you thinking about rearranging departments or making decisions that impact people's day-to-day life? Get them involved in that conversation so you get buy-in. They might have a better idea than you also, which is great. Which we wouldn't know that if we didn't ask them. Build a culture of gratitude and recognition. One way that we do this in my organization is we have what's called Cheers for Peers, and you can submit a cheer for a coworker if they did something really great. And we give like a little gift card too for people to who have submitted those. It's just nice, it's fun to read the other ones. Finally, we have connect individual work with organizational missions. I heard someone say, I'm just an admin coordinator. And I think helping employees understand the value that they have and how that fits in with the overall organizational goals and core values is so important. I know that I literally couldn't live without our administrative team. They make our lives easy when we go to events, when we go on the road, we're doing trainings, when we need, materials, they're there and they make our jobs easier and better. And I just really couldn't imagine our organization without them. So everyone matters. And sometimes it's easy to forget how you fit into the big picture, and reminding people is really helpful. And then the last piece of the framework is opportunity for growth. So offering quality training, education, and mentoring, and fostering clear pathways for career advancement and ensuring relevant and reciprocal feedback. So we should not be waiting until annual performance reviews to let people know that they weren't meeting expectations. So also giving employees the opportunity to give feedback about how their supervisors are performing, really important. It can be informal or formal, having that open dialogue between the layers of the organization really allows people to feel like they matter at work. So next we're going to talk about what employers can do. So the first thing, and these come from the CDC Workplace Health Resource Center and Health Enhancement Research Organization's emerging best practices. So the first thing we have to do, and goes back to any program design, is we have to understand the current state of our workplace, our workforce, their mental health, how are they doing? If we don't know that, then there's no possible way we can hit the mark in terms of what needs to be implemented in our organization. So find out what your employees' priorities are. There's lots of great tools on the internet. You don't have to create a survey tool from scratch. There's lots of great vetted ones, like the ones through Gallup and other organizations as well. Number 2, promote and provide access to mental health care. So whether it's free or subsidized screenings for depression, anxiety, and other mental health conditions with a professional. Offer health insurance with no to low cost out-of-pocket expenses for mental health conditions. Whether it's offering an EAP or lowering the copay on your health plan. We just want to hopefully, within our means of our own organization, increase access to care for our employees. And one of the big barriers to care for mental health is that cost. So however we can pull those levers in plan design is really helpful. Number 3, partner with local and national organizations to extend and share mental health practices. There are lots of great resources in the community. Again, you don't have to sit and research ad nauseum on your own time. See what's out there, what already exists, what free resources exist. If you do have an EAP, there's likely
hours to do training to provide to your supervisors or your employees on mental health topics. So explore what's out there and get that information in front of your employees. Number 4, address whole person health. So I already said mental health and physical health are connected. Provide access to coaching if possible and programs that address multiple dimensions of well-being. So don't forget to take care of the whole person. Number 5, raise awareness about the importance of mental health and well-being in your own workplace. So distributing information, sharing resources, signs and symptoms. Mental health first aid is a great resource. Often those trainings are occurring in the community. And they can be really helpful for educating employees so they know, oh, like the signs and symptoms of when somebody might be reaching crisis mode and how to intervene. Number 6, integrate mental health and well-being into comprehensive wellness strategies. So now finally you have the wellness programs. So if you are doing wellness in your workplace, not forgetting that it's not just physical health, movement, and what we eat, but also mental health, financial, career, social well-being. It's all connected, and a well-rounded wellness program will address all of those things. Implement built environments that support mental health, whether it's respite spaces, dedicated break spaces, and just in general safe workspaces. You may be limited to how much you can do in your built environment, but asking employees what they need, sometimes open concept isn't conducive to work, and so how can we build an environment that supports mental health? Number 8, probably should have been number 2, supporting managers and supporting teams. People quit managers. That's the number 1 reason they leave jobs. And often managers become managers because they've worked there the longest. They have the expertise in the field, but they don't necessarily have the skills to be a really great leader. And that's not their fault, but we need to support them in gaining those skills. So providing training, mentorship for leaders, and also letting them know what the resources are when they do see something, especially around mental health going on with an employee. It's if someone goes from not really making mistakes, coming to work on time every day, they just do a 180, something's going on with them. And so instead of going straight to performance improvement plan, how can we have those vulnerable conversations with our employees and find out the root of the problem, as opposed to just jumping to like, they're a terrible employee and they can't come to work on time. And then lastly, creating collaborative work cultures, give employees opportunities to participate in decisions, which was part of the framework. So just reiterating that people, when we make decisions about what happens to people, they should really be involved in that process, so that they can support their mental health. So that's all I have. I'll turn it over to Kat. And there's a whole bunch of really great stuff in there. Oh, yeah.
So now we're gonna kind of change a little bit. We're gonna talk about mental health and values, because our values are what support our mental health in all kinds of situations that we face every day in life. So our values, our core values, is specifically what we're gonna be talking about today. And those values come from our belief systems. Most of our belief systems that we human beings deal with for our entire lives are formed between 0 and 5 years old. What we do with them after that is update them periodically. And kind of my classic example is, what's a 4-year-old taught about crossing the street? Can they cross the street by themselves?
No.
No. Can't cross the street by themselves. They need to hold an adult's hand. If you don't update your belief system, and you're 18 years old, standing at the corner. You're gonna wait a long time or look a little weird to the person that walks up next to you. So that we update our belief systems by the subsequent experiences that we have in life. But one of the ones that we form the earliest in our lives, post-birth, sometimes even pre-birth, is whether or not we're safe in the world. And so one of my classic examples of that is when I was doing my residency, I was at a clinic in the west side of the state where I had a caseload of 35 children who had been removed from their parents who were in foster care. Their parents were all dealing with meth addiction. So some of these were infants up to teenagers. How do you think those infants felt about whether or not they were safe in the world? And how did they carry that on into their early childhood? And that was my job, was to deal with all the subsequent parts of that. That's not the only scenario where you might not feel like you're safe in the world, but it's certainly one that's we deal with every single day. And also that you have to do it yourself. And it's amazing how early we figure that out. When we know we're not safe in the world, it's up to us to take care of our own survival. I had an 18-month-old little girl placed in foster care who really wasn't speaking to anybody, her foster parents, anybody else. And they went to the house to observe. She wasn't doing that, but what she was doing, the biggest problems they were having with her was, one, putting her in a high chair and restraining the front of her. She absolutely went nuts because she couldn't move. She was now stuck. And that to her was tremendously unsafe at less than 2 years old. She refused to take water from a cup, but she knew how to drink from a toilet. And she went for that all by herself because she knew how to take care. She didn't know how to ask for help, ask for a drink of water, ask for anything. So there, again, is an example of how someone does not feel safe in the world. When you have parents who nurture you and love you and make face contact and cuddle you and hold you, that's how we decide we are safe in the world and that our needs are met. We cry, we get food. We cry, we get changed. I'm safe in the world. My needs are met in the world. And our life experience will capitalize off of that. So that's kind of two huge different ways of how we, one, come to form belief systems and then what we do with them. So they can't be changed without a replacement of something better. And how I use that in therapy is wherever you have a don't, you have to have a do. I'm not going to smoke. So if I say I'm not going to smoke, what's the word that you hear the most in that sentence?
I'll quit.
Well, you could interpret it to quit, but the word, but what?
Cigarettes.
Yeah, I'm not going to smoke.
I mean, today it might be different.
Yeah, yeah, but you see cigarettes or a vape,
Yeah.
you know, vape or something. You see something along those lines. So where's your focus? Your focus is in exactly what you don't want to do. So wherever there's a don't, I'm not going to do this anymore. You've got to have a do. I'm going to do this instead. So if it's I'm not going to smoke, I'm going to get on the elliptical at Pacific Clinic instead. I'm going to go for a walk around the block. I'm going to drink a glass of water so that you have a focus on what you want to do and where you want to go. Another way that I use that is when we're driving, where's our focus? On the road. Out front. Yeah, where we're going. We're all focused on where we're going. If we focus in the rearview mirror, what's going to happen? Not going to go well, probably. Probably going to crash. So there's that whole thing about shift your focus to where you want to go instead of where you don't. You can use side view, rear view mirrors. We glance in those. They give us good information. Same thing in our lives. Our past experiences can give us information, but it's not where we focus. So most of the time when I'm dealing with people in therapy, So much of their focus is in their mistakes rather than in their successes. That's why they deal with depression and anxiety. So how do you focus in where you want to go? How do you want to feel about yourself when you wake up in the morning? What do you want to believe about yourself when you wake up in the morning? I wake up every morning and the first question I ask myself is, how do I want my day to go? And I have yet to answer it. I want to get in my car. First person that cuts me off, I'm going to give them a single finger sign. Then I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna tell myself, man, that ride to work, that was really terrible stuff. I had a horrible time. I have never woke up and said, that's how I want my day to go. I want to see myself handling things with grace. I want to see myself focused on my clients. I want to spend even additional time listening. I want to be able to hear and understand things from your point of view. I want to be able to be great with my staff. I want to treat them and have every one of them know exactly how important they are to the work that we do every day. Those are the things. When my grandkids are coming, I can't wait to hug them when they get home. That's how I envision my day. Start your day that way, and it's probably going to go better than if you didn't. So there's another, replacing that belief change, whatever change you want to make, with something more useful. Belief systems are extremely difficult to change if you're coming from fear and anger. And I say fear and anger, although underneath all anger is fear. If you can get to what you're afraid of, you've got an absolute key to answer to your problem. Anger in our culture in particular is a racket. It feels a whole lot more powerful than helplessness. So rather than feeling helpless in a situation where we're scared or where something's happened, we'll go for anger every time because that feels more powerful. It probably doesn't get us anywhere very often, but it feels more powerful. So awareness and mindfulness are keys to change and growth in our belief systems. And then change and growth happen through structure and consistency. Structure and consistency are two key things that I use in just about everything. If you can pair it with structure and consistency, you don't even have to be a great parent, just be consistent with the structure. And there's a lot of data and statistics to say that kids do better with that. Where they do the worst is not with neglect, it's with marshmallow parenting, which is no, 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 yes. No, you can't have that, no, you can't do that. And then you give in. And that's where kids end up as young adults, the most unstable, because there's no ground, they don't have a foundation there to work from. Our values are what come out of all those belief systems. So we've got the belief systems there, how we believe about the world. Basically, are we safe in the world? Are our needs taken care of in the world? Can we ask for help? All of those things. And then from that is what we form our values from. And our values determine our actions. From where our values are, from that place we will act. So it determines the priorities, our actions, all of that. So now we're going to do a little exercise. So if you already know what your high core value is, great, but this is an opportunity to validate it. If not, it's a way for you to find them out. So, and here's a little hint to one of mine. That the times in your life when you were the happiest, what were you doing? And I'm going to give you a minute with what were you doing? Were you with other people? If so, who? And what other factors contributed to that happiness? I'm going to give you a whole minute to figure it out. And then what were the times when you were the most proud or satisfied? Proud is a word in our culture that has kind of some loaded kinds of meanings to it. So I also put that deep satisfaction. If proud is not a word that you like to use, then go for deep satisfaction. What about that experience made you feel that deep satisfaction or made you feel proud? Did you share it with other people? And if so, who? And what were the factors that contributed to that? And then identify the times when you were the most fulfilled and satisfied, what need or desire was fulfilled. What about that experience gave your life meaning? And what other factors contributed to your feelings of fulfillment? Then you're going to determine your top values or top core values based on your experiences of happiness and pride and fulfillment. What about each experience was truly important and memorable? Which one of those memories of those experiences that you had? And aim for your top 10, but write down as many as you can. And I decided that for the sake of being able to kind of come up with them or prime the pump for your values, this is a cheat sheet. It's kind of, you're getting a whole, 4 minutes to figure this out. These are all excerpts, well, not the cheat sheet, but the rest of it is all excerpts out of an 8-day program that I do on core values, ethics and core values. So some of these may have come out of those. When I talk about skydiving, there's the part about being part of the team. There's something incredibly exhilarating about jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. It's actually one of the most peaceful things I ever do in my life. So peace. Out of that. Structure. Joy. Or joy. You've got some of those written down, kind of go through and compare the first two that you wrote down. And decide which one is number one, which one is number two, and kind of go down your list and do that all the way through. And on the owl, I'm sorry that I'm like wandering around the room. It's really hard for me to stay up here. I want to be back there and wandering over here. And then check your results and see if it fits your life and your vision for yourself. This is me. These are the things that I truly value in my life. This is who I am. This is where I stand. Would you be comfortable sharing your values with people you respect and admire? One of the things I always recommend is share your top 4 values with your mentors. In our workplace at Pacific Clinic, we share them with each other and through all departments and walks. So you have behavioral health therapists sharing with custodial, because there's some people in custodial that I greatly admire. So be willing to share those within your workplace. It's a way that you can support each other. Then here's the next part. So what are your worst behaviors? And let's just pick 2 or 3. What are the worst 2 or 3 behaviors you have when you're in stress and fear? What happens?
Just get into a negative headspace.
Yeah, get into a negative
Like
headspace,
that leads into everything.
catastrophize. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm mean.
Me.
The ones I love the most.
yeah, sarcastic. I can be, that's exactly where I go. And in my family, my parents are both from Ireland, and sarcasm is an art form, you know. And actually, and a little bit different than we do it here, but I did get that part, and it can be so mean. Yeah. So take a look at those. What's happening to you is when you look back at all those high core values that you just came up with, what you're doing when you get into fear or stress or anger, what you're doing is taking one of those the lowest value that you have, and you're elevating it to number 1. And that's where you're acting out of. You're acting not out of your high core values, you're acting out of the lowest core values you have. That's what's happening. Gossip. There's one. People get insecure in the workplace, gossip. So then what you can do that can support you and can support others is come out of the highest core values that we've ever found. And this is 3 of us did a 10-year study on, are there values that are higher than all others? And if so, what are they? One of the people looked at it through a business lens. One of the people looked at it through ethics and philosophy, and I looked at it through spiritual and psychology. The one thing that was common over all time, everything, the first one was integrity. When we're in our integrity, we're in our center, we're doing the right thing. And we know it. We all know it. We know where that's bothered. So when you get into your lowest core values, sarcasm, something along those lines, use your integrity. Is this how I want to be? Is this the right thing? Is this who I am? To move you out of your lowest core values and right back up to the top. That's what you can do. Use that integrity. Courage is the second one. I call that the backbone of integrity, from the standpoint that how do you get back in your integrity when you're in the midst of water cooler gossip with your neighbor and everybody's liking the juice and you're feeling a little bit better. Because that's what it is. It's a short-term hit of dopamine. How do you get to the point of saying, you know what? I just caught myself in a whole bunch of gossip and it's not how I want to be, and I really want to get back into my integrity. There's a use of courage. So you use those 2 your courage, and your integrity. And that equals your character. That is the character of who you are. When you use those with your values, that's the character of who you are. And there's also, it's a great place in the workplace even to be able to be open about these and exchange them. It raises the level of everyone's mental health. From the standpoint, you're gonna have all kinds of people in there with humility and helping and compassion. Empathy, you're gonna have all that stuff going in there too. So, that's basically the end of my part of this program. What I really advocate for in workplaces is coming from those places of integrity and courage, having more conversations about those, what it means within the workplace. What we've done as a culture is get into, well, I'm this way because when I grew up, my parents screwed me up in one way or another, or deficit in some way. So we have a tendency to make excuses instead of do the thing that gets us back in our integrity and what we want to do. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I took a page from Laurell's book because I get to talk to you about work-life balance. I call it chasing the unicorn of work-life balance because it's like that mystical creature that everybody hears about. But nobody has ever seen it or caught it, right? And so Laurell called it life-work harmony. I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful, right? But really what it comes down to is, what does that even mean? Because I'll tell you right now, my version of work-life balance is gonna look a lot different than Kat's version, Laurell's version. Your boss's version is gonna be different than your version, right? How many entrepreneurs in the room? Okay, you guys don't have any. Right? So it's really important that if we are gonna set out for something, that we are saying, okay, I need this. All right, well, what is it? What does it mean to you? Because it's different for all of us. And so in order for you to move forward towards finding it, you gotta come up with that definition. You need to narrow that down. What does that mean to you? We have so many different aspects of life that culminate into a full, fulfilling life. And these are many of those areas. So what I would like to encourage you to do is look at this and think, okay, which area do I feel like maybe I've been neglected? Which area do I feel like I really would like to see more of that in my life? Use this as a guideline and be like, okay, well, maybe some of these are really, really heavy, but you have a gap in some of the other ones that really have made a difference in feeling a void in your life. So self-assessment is key. So what is work-life balance or life-work harmony? To me, it's how we distribute our time, our mental efforts, and our emotional presence in a way that feels good to me. Okay, so everybody's work-life balance is gonna be different. So if I set out to match Laura's work-life balance, I might be setting myself up for failure. If my boss is trying to get me to set up to their work-life balance, I might be a bitter employee, right? So it really is something that is so unique and it's different for every person. So it's important for us to make sure that we hone in on what it means to me. And then you can start moving forward to identify what needs to be worked on. What are some of the barriers to work-life balance? Well, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of us are facing heavier workloads, short staffing, higher expectations, shorter timelines, right? I mean, the workforce is shifting. We're trying to do more with less people because it costs so much money to have the people, right? So we're trying to cram it in. So lack of communication, cultural expectations, our hustle culture, right? What are we falling victim to that's getting in the way of us feeling balanced? These are some of those obstacles. So I'm gonna share with you guys some workplace shifts and some personal shifts that you can implement starting today or tomorrow, if you're done with work today. And really just try to find, okay, what is gonna speak loudest to me? What is gonna give me the biggest impact? Where can I start? Again, this was a much longer presentation, so I shrunk it down. And so I am gonna speak kind of quickly because I want to give you a lot of good takeaways and find really what matters most to you and what's gonna impact you most. So in workplace shifts, setting boundaries, clear communication, time management, and realistic expectations. All of those together, maybe you're like, nah, I'm solid right here, like I am the master. So maybe I actually need to be here, right? So these are some areas that you can look at, setting boundaries. Well, setting boundaries in the workplace means it's up to me to communicate my capacity. No one else knows my capacity. If my boss is giving me more and more things to do, and I'm here for it, and I'm taking it every time, they're gonna be like, ah, she's amazing. Oh my gosh, give her more. Here she comes, give her more, right? As long as I'm taking it, they're gonna think I'm doing it, and I can handle that capacity. If I can't, and that's just overflowing and overflowing and overflowing, and I'm like, I'm here for more, and then all of a sudden, stuff's not getting done, but nobody knows it yet. That's up to me to communicate that capacity. Nobody else knows it. So I can either be a resentful employee and feel overwhelmed and panicked, or hide it, right? We don't want to expose the fact that I'm not capable of doing what they're giving me. But they don't know if you can do it in that time frame or not. You keep taking it, so they think you can, right? Clear communication is saying, hey, I'm a part-time employee. You hired me for part-time. You handed me 500 files to file in 2 days a week. I don't see how that's gonna work. Would you like to hire me for part-time, or would you like me to do half of them? Clear communication, right? Realistic expectations, that is making sure that you can communicate properly, not just your capacity, but sometimes it's, hey, I am not the right person for that. If it involves tech, it is not me. Those of you that know me know that that's not me. So that means, okay, are you open to me collaborating with somebody on this? Because tech is gonna take me 5 times as long. Or would you like to reassign this to somebody more proficient? Overcoming stress. So these tips, and normally I dive really deep on them, but we're gonna kind of skate past some of them. Focus on what you can control. Know that setbacks are temporary. Stick to a routine. And stop expecting perfection. So I created a quote, I'm sure it's been said before, but I'm claiming it, that perfectionism is trying to not be human for too long. And I also say that I'm a recovering perfectionist because I don't know that we ever recover, but I'm actively working on it. Okay. So stop expecting perfection, and that goes back to setting realistic expectations. Is the level of expectation that I've set for myself realistic? Am I giving grace for the day that I have to show up and I can't be my best self because I've had trauma in my life? Am I giving myself grace like I would give somebody else grace? Right? Know that setbacks are temporary. A lot of the time it's hard to bring it's hard to bring your head up when you feel like it's so dark and everything is heavy. But I will tell you that everything is recoverable with your active involvement in your own healing. And nothing will last forever, not even trauma, adversity, pain, if you take an active role in your healing. Focusing on what you can control. You have a certain amount of energy, and you can use it to push against something, or you can use it to push through something. So coming to a place of acceptance on what you can control, what is or isn't in your control, is up to you. You could be mad about being stuck in traffic. I know that's cute. We don't really have traffic, but I mean, we're getting there. We like to complain about it. It's getting closer, right? But focusing on what you can control, meaning coming to a place of acceptance. That is not the same thing as resignation. That does not mean, let me lay down and roll over me. Ugh, I can't do anything about it. No, what it means is, okay, it is what it is. I get it. I don't like it. But how am I gonna take that energy and find a way through it in spite of what I've been dealt? It's a choice. So focusing on what you can control. Some of you have heard me talk about a backpack full of bricks. We walk through life with a backpack full of bricks. And sometimes those bricks belong to us and sometimes they don't. And sometimes we walk on a path and we find a brick and we go, oh, it's in my way, it's blocking me, I don't know what to do. I also don't know how to solve it. So I'm just gonna throw it in my backpack and keep going along my way. And then Tony runs out, Lena, there's this problem. I have this brick. I don't know what to do with it. And you're like, oh, I don't know. Okay, well, let me tell you what to do with it. But you don't do it and you don't take your brick back. So I put it in my backpack. I keep going. I keep walking through life. And then I find another brick and I pick it up and I can't solve it. It's mine. And I resolve it and I get rid of it. And the next one, I go down and I collapse because of the weight of the bricks. And the thing is that there are things that are for you to resolve, and there are things that are not for you to resolve. They either don't belong to you, or no matter what you do, your actions cannot change the outcome. And if you ask me personally, those you need to give away. Either hand them back to Tony, or give them to something larger than yourself. The universe, God, karma, whatever, they're not yours, right? So if you guys go home tonight, make 2 lists. One of them is stressors that you can change the outcome, that your actions can actually resolve these or at least contribute to them. And the second one are things that are not yours to resolve. And those, whatever ceremony you need to do, you write them down, catch them on fire, put them in a jar, close it. I don't know. Give them over. They're not yours. They were never yours to solve. And stick to a routine. Kat talked to us about structure and consistency. 100%. It's not just children that thrive on that. That's all of us. Why? As human beings, we do not like uncertainty. We like to know that we have the resources to handle what's coming and what's around the corner because we want to feel safe. And if I stick to a routine, I know what's coming. And I know that I'm capable to solve it or to address it or to work through it. I can look at my day and go, you know what? I have what it takes to get there. I can handle my day. So sticking to a routine is really helpful. Personal shifts. 1, staying connected and getting support. I will tell you that asking for help, and I'm, again, type A perfectionist issue, right? Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of resourcefulness. We were never placed on earth to do life alone. We were placed here to do life as a community, and we each have individual gifts and skills that collaborate together for a beautiful harmony. And so chances of me needing help and support, guess what? Lots. Throughout my entire life, we are all going to need help. It's just a matter of, are you smart enough to utilize your resources, or are you going to wallow in it and not get the help? So stay connected, get support. Next, practice gratitude. The quote that I love, and I have no idea who said it, not gonna claim this one, is that it's not thankful people that are happy. It's grateful, it's, excuse me, hang on. Thankful people that are happy, it's happy people that, no, I screwed it up. Hang on a minute. It's, it isn't happy people that are thankful, it's thankful people that are happy, because gratitude takes what you already have and turns it into enough. So that, even though I screwed up the quote, was so powerful for me because it really put things into perspective. It's a choice. How we see things is a choice. Is it that I'm just an overly happy person, or is it that I became happy because I saw the good that I was thankful for? Right? Being kind to yourself, that goes so far, because being kind to yourself is not just confidence. It is not just grace. It is also how you think about yourself, how you speak to yourself, how you treat your body. Neglect of your body is not kind to yourself. Hustle culture, not kind to yourself. Also not kind to people around you, because you're modeling a behavior that is unrealistic and unhealthy, right? So those of you that are leaders in the room, unhealthy, okay? Find faucets to fill your cup. I like to explain to people that, you know, and we've all heard the cup analogy, like, oh, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? No, absolutely not, you can't. Although I've had some pretty dry responses from people, you know, you're like, oh, this is empty. So if you want to wake up in your day and to continue to pour out, whether that be in your job, in your relationships, in your obligations and responsibilities, in your family, you know, all these things, there's going to come a time that we need to fill our cup, probably pretty frequently. I've been there, definitely been there. And the thing is that when we get into the low of lows, it is so hard to find that faucet. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know. And sometimes we go to old faucets and we turn it on and we're like, oh, wait, but it's not filling my cup. So what do I do? So I suggest that you get 3 to 5 faucets you identify now, not when you're low. 3 to 5 faucets. So why so many? Because there are going to be faucets that are dry. If my best friend is no longer with me, that's a faucet I lost, right? If my spirituality is a faucet and I've been so disconnected lately, that's not a running faucet, right? So 3 to 5 faucets to fill your cup, and just know what that looks like to you. And it's going to be different for all of you. Some of you, it's your parent. Some of you, it's your companion. Some of you, it's your best friend. Some of you, it's your mentor. I had coffee this morning with my 87-year-old mentor, who told me that I was in the wrong business when I was a health coach. He goes, no, that is not what you're doing. That is not what you were made for. And I was like, okay, got it. He goes, you're here to grow leaders. I'm like, interesting, thank you. Okay. So, living with integrity. Oh, did I skip one? Hang on, guys. Yeah, I did. Okay, I was like, where'd it go? Yep, that's the one. Okay, so real self-care. There is a book called Real Self-Care, and it's Dr. Pooja, and she broke all this down, and I loved it so much I had to share it with you. So this is not my wisdom. I found a resource. Okay. So yes, setting boundaries, we already kind of talked about that in the professional world, but we really didn't talk about that in the personal world, and those are even more important, right? Because those are the places that can drain us really quickly. Really quickly. I have to learn how to protect my energy. And so I had to get really good at setting boundaries. And I was raised in a mentally ill home where you weren't allowed to have boundaries because they got violated every time. So I had to get good at it when I got old. Self-compassion. We talked about self-grace, giving yourself the room to not be at your best. Give yourself permission that, hey, guess what? If today this is my best, and even though it doesn't compare to last year's best, I'm okay that it's today's best. And you know what? When things go back to normal and I'm not faced with unforeseen circumstances, I can go back to last year's best, but right now, today's best is gonna have to do. Living in alignment with your values, and Kat really talked about that, because I tell you, nothing triggers anxiety and stress more than when I behave in a way that I'm not proud of. Right? So if I have an interaction and the next day it just spins and spins and spins, or that night I'm trying to sleep and it just goes and goes, What is that telling me? That my behavior was not in alignment with my values. And I can't reconcile it, so my brain's trying to look for all the loopholes as to why that was somebody else's fault and I was validated. But I wasn't. Reclaiming your power. Reclaiming your power means choosing not to be a victim to your circumstance, as Kat said. This isn't that I'm screwed up because my parents totally like gave me a bad hand. This is me making a choice to reclaim my power. I have a choice to choose my path. I can either take the challenges that I've been dealt and that I have processed and I've been through, and I can grow and develop and create a blueprint of how to do it better next time, and I can become resilient in spite of the bad hand I was dealt. That's a choice. I can be a victim, or I can be resilient and I can take my bad hand and I can use it for a purpose. I can use it to teach and enlighten others. So the last quote, this one's written so I won't get it wrong. Living with integrity means behaving in ways that are in harmony with your personal values. And the way you live your life should be in alignment with your personal values. And that will guide all of your actions and behaviors so that you can be a person that you're proud of. And that's where you set your boundaries from. You set your boundaries within those values to protect them. Thank you.
Now do questions and answers. So does anyone here have a question? Oh, we've got one back there. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with Kat, when you were talking about gossip, what are some best strategies when, change the culture in an environment when there's gossip involved? And obviously we cannot add to the gossip, that's the no-brainer, but what are some deeper strategies to actually change the culture of the workspace?
It's really interesting because I've dealt with it at Pacific Clinic. We dealt with it a lot. When I first, in 22, when we first came in, we had an existing staff. We've actually almost doubled it, but at that point we had about 100 people. Now we have about 255. And gossip ran like crazy in there. So some varying ways to change it. One of the things that I did, it turned out that they had never had an HR department ever. And when I look at HR, I kind of come at it from a new, hopefully more modern aspect where HR is not the policeman of the workforce. HR is the supporter of the workforce. So one of the things we looked at, what's going to work, one of the things that we did is there's a video that every employee has to watch when they're onboarding. We have a no gossip contract in our company. So there's no gossip. And then what's the structure for when you're confronted with gossip? So everybody buys into this from the beginning. So a new employee sees the video, they know that if they gossip, they're going to be confronted by another employee who's going to say, I'm experiencing that as gossip and I really don't want to do that. And so let's change the subject or let's change the topic. So it's not about making someone else bad. It's about supporting them to be different, to make a different choice. And that's a great way within the culture. That's exactly how we did it. And it changed the culture tremendously. I recently had an incident of it, though. We have a nursery where we have daycare at Pacific Clinic, and there was an incident in there of gossip. And so I just went in and reminded everybody about, hey, how is this supporting, how are you guys supporting each other? How does this build trust? And if anybody can convince me that this builds trust within your crew, I'll take a different look at it. I just can't see how it does. To me, it seems like what's happening here is that it's undermining trust. And they all went, yeah, you're right, it is. and back on track. So there's the other thing about, we're human beings. We're never going to be doing it perfectly every time. I make new mistakes every day. I hope I'm not making the same ones every day. I hope I'm making different mistakes every day. But I'm making mistakes every day because I'm a human being, and it's not about doing it perfectly. But it's about being reminded that when we get back on track, what we need to do to get back on.
I have one for Lena. So you were talking about making 2 lists of stressors, ones that you can control with your actions and one you cannot. What happens when you're faced with a stressor that you can't decide which list to put it on?
Oh, that's a great question. That is a really good question. I'm spiritual. So for me, I would turn to a higher power to really help me figure that out, narrow it down. But the real black and white of it is, will my actions make an impact? And if the answer is a hard no, like as an example, I'll use a real example. My little brother has stage 3 cancer. Can my actions change his outcome? The answer is no. I cannot change his prognosis. I cannot change any of that. So I have a choice on how I want to support him, and I have a choice on how I want to show up for him. And
Answer. Thank you.
great question. Anyone else? So I have a question. What are some simple daily habits teams can adopt to support each other's mental health? So in the, it's not something everyone wants to talk about. It's obviously becoming more acceptable in the workplace. So if we want to help each other with that, what's some starting points? And you might maybe each of you has some tip you could get.
I've got one that I start my office got flooded, so I'm actually located in a different part of the building right now, but it used to be that I was at the opposite end of a great long walk upstairs. And so I would come to work 15 minutes early, so every door I passed along the way, or every employee I saw along the way, I could smile and say, good morning.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Sometimes it would just be, how are you doing? If I received, if I saw that someone was struggling in some way, or if they responded that they were struggling in some way, then it's, can I help? How can I help? Or can I help? Which again, we're all stressed in our workplace every day. We're all handling all kinds of stuff every day. So what it does is just support each other. We're there for each other. Just the good morning. It's amazing what that does. Is just say good morning. And by the time I get to my office, I'm all excited to go for the day. It's like all these people. It's wonderful.
That was something that I was gonna say, is the face-to-face acknowledgement. We all want to be seen. And I think that that's something, even like people that know me know that I'm like, if I see a familiar face, I acknowledge you right away. Like, I want you to feel seen, because I think it's really, really important for people. Plus, I'm also the first one to say, are you all right? Because if we have that face to face on a regular basis, then we can see when something's shifted. And a lot of the times people feel like we have to hold it all together. And the minute somebody goes, are you okay? It's like, right? You finally have that permission to release. Or, hey, you don't have to hold it all. Like, what, are you all right? Like, people see you. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, we actually did an exercise, like what makes you feel welcome, and it was a lot of smiling, say good mornings, calling people by their name. One thing we do in our team is we do an exercise called rose, bud, thorn. So your rose is like the thing that's going well, could be personal, could be professional. The bud is like the thing that you're excited about, maybe something that's coming up or a project that you're getting put on. And then the thorn is like what's maybe not going well, what's maybe preventing you from doing your job effectively, or it could be personal too. So our director leaves it open of where your comfort level is, if you want to share work things or personal things.
That's good. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
What's one last thing is, what's a practical step for a company's organization to make mental well-being a visible or consistent part of the culture? Like, it sounds like all of your businesses where you work and, or like that you work with, you know, have an element of that, but maybe it's not very noticeable. So is there a step a business could do to make that something that employees are more aware of, or accept it?
It really has to start from the top. I mean, leaders have to role model taking care of their own mental health. They have to talk about it, be vulnerable. Like, we don't need to get into the weeds of like, oh, I'm getting divorced and it's like a nightmare. Like, but being vulnerable, like, I have some stuff going on. And then, you know, holding other people accountable for following the practices. And it's actually a framework called Do Speak Create by Laura Putnam. She's a leader in workplace wellness. And so like, that's how leaders can show up well-being across all dimensions, but especially in mental health.
I find it's way easier in corporate environments. In small business, really tough. I work with a lot of small business owners. A lot of them don't have the resources, right? Whereas like corporate, you guys have EAPs, you have programs, you have resources. But I am noticing, and she hit it right on the head, is they have to model the behavior. And that's why when I said entrepreneurs, like, we are not good at modeling the behavior, because we believe that we should sacrifice everything in the name of the success of the company. And then that's where things start going downhill. So modeling the behavior, but also finding ways to add value to your team and give them those resources. So I would say, if you're not a corporate company and you're a small business, find the resources. I'm working with companies that are bringing me in to coach their employees and give them free coaching sessions as part of their benefit packages, things like that. Just added value or resources for them to have support if they're struggling.
I think the same thing is that, you know, making those resources available. So some of the things that we do, any of the employees have the ability to come in and see me anytime they want, and one way or the other, I'll figure it out. As far as time goes, sometimes it's only 5 minutes. 5 minutes can change someone's whole life. Just being there with them. So one, being available, modeling, again, that it starts with the leadership. It really starts with leadership, and to be able to model that stuff. And to even admit when you know you're, again, entrepreneurial, we work a lot because we love it. So there's the part where you just, and sometimes there's just that admission of, I do this because I love it. I know it's not the healthiest thing for everybody. Yeah. So the admission of that also.
Well, would everyone help me thank our experts? I can't line about how great this was, real world examples. If people really appreciate that, I think that just helps us know how to work it around that and put that in our lives. Again, I want to thank STCU. Thanks to them, this is a free event offered to our community. Thank you to the audience, both in person on Zoom. We appreciate you being here. We're really excited. Our July Ask the Experts is next level AI strategies. And this isn't going to be just how to find better AI tools. This is going to be really implementing automation in your workforce, in your culture, how to use it on a day-to-day basis, how to set programs around it, and then how to even use it with your customers. So I think it's going to be a really exciting time, and to learn how people are automating in their workplaces using all the tools that are available. So we look forward to that.